All right, I've got another NPC upgrade build for you today, and today we're looking at Chatty CIRCUS AC. Now, what are the main issues with his build? Well, quite frankly, as a support build that's meant to, sit in the back lines behind another AC that's distracting the opponent, not really much. However, as a more front-facing, more 1v1 sort of situation, there's quite a lot of issues. Both the back weapons, I mean, the Delivery Boy, even in a support situation, is quite bad. But definitely in a 1v1 situation, it's absolute garbage. The vertical missiles also are not very good. And his primary weapons are quite light and don't do that much damage. So he's kind of also lacking on burst damage as well, right? So, again, as a support that's not meant to be at the front of the fight, he's not a particularly bad build. Otherwise, it's actually pretty bad, right? But however, that makes it pretty easy to make some changes here. So you can probably see in the background here, I've switched out the vertical missiles with the 10 cell forward firing. These are just a lot more consistent in my opinion, and just feel a lot better to use. I've also switched out the Delivery Boy, of course, for the Javelin Alpha, which I think serves a very similar role as the Delivery Boy. It just does it, much, much better. And also, I've swapped out his grenade launcher and his bazooka for ones that are a bit better in terms of dishing out burst damage, right? And overall, it turned out pretty good. It's still honestly not amazing, to be frank. It's definitely not the best build I've played, but it is pretty solid, and you can definitely get some work done with it. You can get some S ranks on some missions, and you do get pretty decent burst damage out of the, I think it's the Dizzy grenade launcher. I don't remember exactly which one. I can never remember the difference between them in terms of like their names and whatnot. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this build. It is still on the wheelchair, so it's still pretty fast, even with some heavier weapons. I made a bit of a sacrifice on the frame to make up for that, right? But yeah, this build feels pretty good, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Now, let's go ahead and get into the details. Now, for the weapons, it actually changed every single weapon, which is really unusual for this series. Let's go ahead and get into it. First, we've got this Dizzy switch from the original Iridium grenade launcher. And the main thing here is just having a bigger burst damage weapon for stagger punishes, right? And that's really all this is for. It's quite a bit heavier, but it does a lot more damage, and it's got a slightly better directed adjustment as well, right? So, not much to talk about there. Moving on to the Majestic switch from the Little Gem. Kind of the same thing here, just more damage, more impact, and, just an overall better weapon, right? Not really too much to say about it. You guys all know about the Majestic being really good. Now, I will say I did consider the Swan J over the Majestic, but just found that it didn't. Mainly, one thing I wanted to shave down a little more weight, and the extra reload time, and even though this one J just have a slightly higher proximity detonation now, I didn't feel like it really made that much of a difference, and I preferred the extra damage and again the lower weight of the Majestic on this build. Now moving on to the Javelin Beta. This is switched from the original Delivery Boy. No surprises here, right? The Delivery Boy is really bad. This is just a terrible weapon. The Javelin Beta fills a very similar role as the Delivery Boy, in my opinion. And it's actually really, really good. The Javelin Beta can really harass your opponent very well and really keep them on their toes. If it's not paying enough attention, it can absolutely devastate them. Very, 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 very good weapon. Love the Javelin Beta. Now moving on, we've got the PO5 MLT-10, switch from the original vertical, this 12-cell vertical missile launcher. And unfortunately, the vertical missiles just aren't that good. At least not the standard missiles. The plasmas, the VPMs are still very good, even despite the nerfs. But the standard verticals just aren't very good, right? They tend to miss a lot, and it is what it is, right? So switch to that for kind of like the most similar equivalent of like forward firing missiles, which is of course going to be MLT-10. And these are pretty solid missiles. They're pretty standard forward firing missiles. There's not much to talk about, but they're pretty good. And yeah, that's all there is to say about the weapons. Pretty basic switches all around, despite being so many switches, all pretty basic stuff, right? Now, let's get into the frame. Now, I've made one change to the frame, and it's the Basho head to the Tianqing head. And the main thing here is I just needed to drop some weight, right? I just really needed to drop some weight. I wanted to keep the build mobility about the same as the original, and obviously we added a lot of extra weight to the weapon loadout, right? So I needed to drop some weight somewhere, and the head felt like the best place to do so, right? And especially since the Basho head and the Tianqing head already look pretty similar, right? So I thought it was a pretty good swap overall in terms of just shaving off some weight, right? Now, And that's really about it. The other parts are decent. The wrecker core is actually really good, so there was no reason to change. This is a really good core, actually. The tool arms are already quite light and have, reasonable stats. They're not amazing, they're not terrible. I mean, for lightweight arms, they're okay. And then finally, of course, we've got the Fortaleza tank legs. Wasn't going to switch this, because this is kind of what makes the build work as well as it does, right? So there was no reason to change that. I wasn't going to change off tank legs anyways, because, I don't like doing that. I like changing old leg types on builds like this, and yeah, it's just not going to work as good on these other two types of builds, right? Or the other two tank legs. And yeah, all there is to say about the frame. Let's move on into the Eternals. Now for the Eternals, I haven't actually made any changes here. Obviously, since we're on tank legs, there's no boosters. So moving on to the SCS, we've got the P10 SLT, which I decided to leave it alone, mostly because the Javelin Beta's 2.4 second lock-on time. I really just wanted as much uptime on the missiles as possible, so I stuck with the P10 SLT. Now, obviously, you could definitely use the P12 SML. It does have slightly better medium range assist, but worse close range assist, of course. And that's kind of the reason that I didn't switch it out. I kind of like the more even stats of the P10 SLT on this build, just a little bit more, even though medium range assist is probably a bit more useful on this build overall. But I ended up sticking with the P10 SLT, again, mostly because I just wanted max uptime on the Javelin Beta. Now, moving on, we've got the Hokushi, which is what he has on originally. We talked about the Hokushi many times. Very good generator. Low weight, high energy output. Really good all around. Not much to talk about here. And finally, for the final expansion, I probably just put on terminal armor because, especially because of the way Chatty dives destroyed, I feel like terminal armor would be a really fitting way to improve his build, because if you had terminal armor on, that wouldn't have happened, right? So yeah, terminal armor, there we go. And yeah, that's all there is to say about the build. As always, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Before we get to the gameplay footage, quick thanks to our members. As always, any tier of the membership is greatly appreciated. Your support helps a lot. You get some benefits for it. Of course, you get your name here. If you get the Purple Cat tier or higher, you get to see videos a day early. You get some other stuff as well, like a members exclusive Discord channel. But let's go ahead and get into the gameplay.
Kneel down. He's withdrawn. Let's get moving, Raven. The partition's locked us in.
Well, hi, tourist. How much did Archivist pay? Hate to see you go. Actually, why don't you stick around?
I'll handle the partition. You take care of this. Looks like we're clear, Raven. I've unlocked the partition.
Figured you were beyond simple tricks. Chatty, fire up the ACs.
Carla. She's in there.
Let me tell you my motto, tourist. Get your laughs while you can. I don't know what you're up to, but you better make it worth it. Chatty, you know what we're dealing with. Pin that tourist down.
Roger, Chief. Support.
Don't let them team up on me.
2 repair kits remaining.
Walter told me, you know. Looks like you made a friend of your own. But it's good to make a choice. Sit on the fence, you make no enemies.
locked out.
Let me, Chief. I'll take us over the finish line. Inheriting privileges. Owner, Symptom Karma. Activating perimeter protocol. Silo